daily visit with Johnny and Mr. Do-Right. One morning, Johnny was awakened by the alarm clock. "Good morning," barked Mr. Do-Right, Johnny's dog. "Morning," said Johnny as he jumped out of bed. Soon Johnny was all dressed, and he heard his mother calling him to breakfast, so he ran downstairs. "Gee, I'm not hungry," said Johnny as he looked at his breakfast. "You'd better eat it," said Mr. Do-Right. "Breakfast is the most important meal of the day." "Ah, I don't need it," returned Johnny as he walked out the front door. While they walked to school, Mr. Do-Right was telling Johnny that he really needed his breakfast for energy, and it would keep him on his toes and make him sharp. Later, when Johnny was in the classroom, he found that Mr. Do-Right was right, and at recess, he didn't even have the energy to play baseball with the rest of the kids. Then, when lunchtime came, he was so hungry he overate. After lunch, he was twice as dull as before because he was too full. "You should have stayed at home today for all the good you did at school," said Mr. Do-Right as they trudged home that afternoon. So take a tip from Mr. Do-Right. Always eat a good breakfast. One day, Johnny was running over to see his friend Stubby. His dog, Mr. Do-Right, was running along behind. When they got there, Stubby suggested a game of tag. "Swell," said Johnny, and the game was on. Stubby chased Johnny all around the yard. Then Mr. Do-Right chased them both. Soon it was Johnny's turn to be it, but Mr. Do-Right puffed, "Enough's enough. I'm tired, and you guys must be too." "Ah, we're not tired," yelled Johnny. "Let's play leapfrog." "Swell," said Stubby. "Makes me tired just watching you," said Mr. Do-Right as he curled up and took a nap. When the boys were through with their game of leapfrog, Mr. Do-Right woke up to see that they were playing baseball. "You fellas should relax a little. You'll get overtired, and it's not good for you," he barked. "Ah, what do we care?" they yelled, as they hopped on their bikes and rode off toward the playground. Later, when Johnny came home, he was too tired to eat his dinner and too tired to do his homework, and he could also feel a cold coming on. Ka-chew! So take a tip from Mr. Do-Right. Don't get overtired. One cold afternoon, Johnny and Stubby were inside the house working on their model airplanes. "Let's turn the heat up," said Johnny. "It's getting cold in here." "Good idea," shivered Stubby as he turned the heater up full blast. "I'll close these windows, too," said Johnny. Meanwhile, Johnny's dog, Mr. Do-Right, was hurrying home to get in out of the cold. "I wonder what the kids are doing," he thought as he started barking at the front door. "Why don't they let me in?" he growled, and then went right on barking. Johnny sleepily opened the door. "What's wrong with you?" barked Mr. Do-Right, running into the house. "Johnny and I don't feel well," said Stubby. "Oh, no wonder. You've got the heat on full blast with all the windows shut. Get a window open." "Boy, that fresh air sure smells good," said Stubby as he opened the window, and Johnny said, "Yeah, I feel better already." "Lucky for you guys I came home when I did," growled Mr. Do-Right angrily, "or you would have been goners. So take a tip from Mr. Do-Right. Always keep a window open in a heated room." One bright sunny day, Mr. Do-Right was running and playing in Stubby's yard while Johnny and Stubby were in the house reading comic books. "Come on out and play," yelled Mr. Do-Right. "It's too nice a day to waste inside." "Not now," they answered without looking up. "Boy," thought Mr. Do-Right, "they don't know what they're missing," and he chased a cat up a tree. "This is really living," he barked as he ran past Stubby's window. "Quit making so much noise," yelled Johnny. "We can hardly hear ourselves read." "Oh, what's the use?" grumbled Mr. Do-Right as he went in and curled up at Johnny's feet. Finally, Stubby got tired of reading, so he tossed aside his comic book and said, "Hey, I'm getting kind of dopey." "Me too," yawned Johnny. "Let's go outside and play." "You couldn't get dopier," piped up Mr. Do-Right. "You should have played while you could." "Uh-oh, it's pouring down rain," moaned Stubby as he looked out the window. "And we've read all the comic books," added Johnny sadly. So take a tip from Mr. Do-Right. Get fresh air and exercise when you can. One night, Johnny was looking at his comic books on the floor of the living room. Mr. Do-Right was there beside him, catching a quick snooze. He was awakened when Johnny's mother came in to tell him it was time for bed. Oh, gee, can I just finish this one story I'm reading? Asked Johnny. All right, but be sure you go right to bed after that, said Johnny's mother as she left the room. After a while, Johnny had finished his story, but Mr. Do-Right noticed he had started another comic book. Hey, he reminded Johnny, you promised to go to bed when you were through with that one story. Okay, said Johnny, but as he left the room, he took his comic books with him. I'll just read them in bed, he said to himself, and Mr. Do-Right'll never know the difference. So Johnny stayed awake way past his bedtime, reading one comic book after another. And the next morning, he was late for breakfast, late for school, and too sleepy and tired to play with Stubby after school. So take a tip from Mr. Do-Right. Get plenty of rest. One night, Stubby stayed over at Johnny's house. They had just climbed into bed when Mr. Do-Right said, "You guys forgot to brush your teeth." "Oh, that's right," said Johnny, and so he hopped out of bed and went to brush his teeth. "What about you, Stubby?" asked Mr. Do-Right. "Not me," Stubby replied. "I don't believe in that stuff." "You'll be sorry," said Mr. Do-Right as he curled up to go to sleep. They all slept soundly through the night. The next morning, Johnny jumped out of bed and started brushing his teeth again. "What's the matter with you?" said Stubby. "You just brushed your teeth last night. Now again." "This brushing will help to keep my teeth from getting cavities," said Johnny. "He also goes to the dentist twice a year to have his teeth checked," Mr. Do-Right added. "Ah," said Stubby, "that's a lot of baloney." So as more and more days and nights went by, Stubby continued to neglect his teeth, and as a result he got a terrific toothache one day. And after that, he had to spend many hours in the dentist chair having his teeth fixed. So take a tip from Johnny and Mr. Do-Right. Brush your teeth morning and night.